Good morning, people. So I want to do a really short video, just a couple seconds, to show you how I stored the potatoes I grew this summer. Don't look at the garage. It's a work in progress. This is the basement, sorry. It's going to be a work in progress until I stop working 13-hour days and try and get everything done that needs to be done on a farm that was neglected for so long. This is how I separate them. I put baking, they're not that big, roasting potatoes, and then I have peeling potatoes, which are a little bit, the peeling ones are bigger than the roasting, and then I've got baking potatoes. But today, all I want to do is I'm going to make some stew. So I'm going to grab some of these. Now, what I did was I washed them all, as you can see. These are the ones I grew. I washed them. And then I set them out on my counter to dry. We have squirrels and voles. And that crinkly noise, ignore it if you can. Ooh, that one's starting to grow. That one's starting to grow, look already. So I couldn't put them outside. If I put them outside, they would get eaten. So I don't want to eat a potato that's been half nibbled. As you can see, that one's starting to sprout already. And they're still good to eat, even if they started to sprout. You just pick that off. So this should be enough for a stew. My husband prefers more meat. I prefer more gravy and potatoes, but that's just how it goes. So anyway, back to this. So what I did was I washed them, put them on the counter. I let them dry for like a week, which worked good for me because I was working. So I did it on the weekend and then the next weekend. Then I came out, especially with the bakers. I individually wrapped each one. I made sure it was dry. And I individually wrapped it, and then I wrapped it in a piece of newspaper, and I put it in there. So, that one's got a soft spot, kind of. Not really soft, it's just where it was indented, where it grew up against something. These ones might not keep as long, because as you see, it'll get softer and ickier. But it's still hard. It bends a tiny bit, but no more than you would if you bought some at the grocery store. I like to have my own potatoes because I know where they've been grown and I know what's in them. So, and you just check it periodically. What I don't use, if they last, there's no way I'm going to get through the whole winter with just these. It's December and I'm halfway through what I've got. But the paper helps protect from any moisture and it keeps the moisture away. My dehumidifier's down here, but it's not going right this second. And that's just how you store them. You can do this with apples. I didn't have the sand, and I didn't want to carry the sand up and down, so this seemed to be the best way for me to store it. At the old house, I stored them in my garage in a tub with sand. The potatoes I stored, but I ran them through a shredder, the newspaper, and then I stored them in that. So I didn't have to individually wrap each potato. But when we moved, we didn't have room in the U-Haul for the shredder, so that obviously didn't come with us. And we've gone pretty much paperless for bills, and we paid off everything that we could, so we really don't have a lot of bills coming in, so there really wasn't anything left to shred anymore, like there used to be, in days of old. But this is how I store them, and then I just put them on these shelves, and I put on the outside. As you can see, there's a squash sitting there. I've got a few more squashes out in the garage. Now, this squash is doing quite well sitting here. The ones in the garage, I think it's the moisture from the snow and everything, they're starting to get some mold on them. So those are probably going to end up going out to the chickens. And I'm not going to get to use them. I should have washed them all off and dried them like I did this one and put them down here. I do have pumpkins out in the garage that seem to be doing quite well. But I haven't even used the pumpkin I put away for Thanksgiving. I didn't make a pumpkin pie. I made a cheesecake instead. So I'll have to make something pumpkin for Christmas, and then I'll cook the other pumpkins, and then I'll freeze them. I don't tend to can pumpkin unless I can it in chunks. I'm just a little leery of the thickness of it because there's no acidity to pumpkin, and they suggested when I took my master canning preservation class not to can pumpkin and squash, to freeze it instead. So, and like these winter squashes, they last quite a while. I mean, they'll last for a while. And then when they get soft, then you freeze it. So, and hopefully by then you've cleaned out some room in your freezer. I just need to figure out a great way to save eggs, because right now we've got an abundance of eggs to the point that the dogs are getting scrambled eggs for dinner. Well, it saves on dog food prices, and it's better for Jack's allergies, food allergies. But yeah, so there it is. That's how I stored my potatoes. Not a big deal. It took a little bit of while, but anyway, I figure even if it gets me through 3 or 4 months of not having to buy potatoes, that's a huge savings, especially right now, this time of year. I could have canned them. I have canned potatoes. Let me see if they're over here. As you can see, working as many hours as I do, nothing's gotten clean in here. The canned food is just sitting in the boxes where I canned it. I have all this stuff, and then my husband came and put his stuff on my food shelf. And I have to move it, and I'm a little disgruntled at him for that, because I shouldn't have to move it. But these are... Is that the chicken or those the potatoes? No. Oh no, this is chicken. That's the chicken that I canned. And then the potatoes are probably down... Oh, way back there. That's what I should be using, and not what I've got in the dark. You can't even see in there. So, there's the canned potatoes. And normally when I make like stews and stuff, this is what I use instead of having to... But this, they'll last. I made them, they're almost 2 years old. As you can see, they're just fine. Your best use-by date in the grocery store is just a use-by date. It's just so that you have, so you buy more. I mean, people have been known to can stuff and keep it for long periods of time. So anyway, this is what we use when we butcher our chickens. We don't deep fry them. We butcher chickens with that. So there's the potatoes. If they start to get soft, I'll probably can them, or I'll chop them up and freeze them. You can cook them and shred them and make hash browns. I've done that. Not my best thing to do because they take up a lot of room in the freezer. But we've got the extra freezer now, so we've got plenty of room. So there you go. I'm going to go upstairs now, and I'm going to make a video on how I make my soup base. Chat later. Bye.